Evening, and we are live. This is Imitating this season 2, episode 4. I got some fantastic guests with us tonight, as always. Largo, you are a regular contributor to the show. How are things, my mate? You good?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm just using the NHS's Wi-Fi, so I can.
Right. Yeah. No, I know you're currently in a hospital with a friend of yours. So if you, I understand that you may get called into action at any moment. So we're not to take it personally, yeah.
No. Of course, if there's any viewers want to fill me in, I'm outside Lancaster Hospital.
Oh, right. There you go. Well, meet Largo. Meet Largo. There you go. And he's not married or anything, girls. So so also joining us tonight is the frontman of probably the second best electronic group of the decade. The one and only Mr. Simon Roadnight. How are you, mate? You good?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, all good.
Oh, good, man.
All good at this end.
Thanks for being here, mate. Thanks for being here. Just a quick one to anybody who wants to say anything exciting or interesting happens within the week, really.
Anything exciting happening? What? The waiting
room? During the week this week. The waiting room. Oh God. All right. Well, it's a bit early for that. The drunks will be in later. But anything exciting happened in the week? Any fun and games? Any drama?
No. I've just been watching the ongoing situation at Morecambe on the news.
Yeah, so you give us an update on that, because last time we spoke about it, they're not going to kick off in the National League.
He uses to sell. He wants his pound of flesh.
Yeah, he wants his money. I can see that, and that's kind of the thing is that realistically, a football club that runs at hemorrhage type losses isn't worth a lot of money, and he just needs to get out and cut his losses. And if he doesn't want to be a committed owner of that club, then let someone else come in who will be. That's as simple as complicated as that, really. Simon, anything from you? Anything happened, or just been a routine week for you?
I've been staining my new fence in the background, and I'm feeling a little worse than way for it. I'm a bit achy and.
Oh, bless you.
Usual week job, seeing families and what have you. So it's all good on that score. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we were talking before we came on air about like not to watch too much mainstream media news as well, which it's got that kind of curse type effect on you. I understand this completely. A lot of people are switching off. The problem is a lot of people are going to alternative news on YouTube and the like, which is even worse.
There's a downside to it, Daz. I mean, in the past, the mainstream media has given me loads of inspiration for songs.
Yeah.
So by not watching it, I'm probably stifling whatever's in there, So.
Yeah, well, I tend to draw on personal experience. If there's something you haven't written about yet that happened in your life, I'll just rack your brain, have a think about that. So we were in the studio last Saturday as it happens, and we sent you the end product. It was pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. But your point about not watching the news is pretty profound, really. It does have that. It does seem to have that effect these days more than ever. It's like this kind of we're all doomed thing. We're all going to die. It's
exactly. I mean, the way they go about it. I mean, I don't want to single any one particular broadcaster out. I think by and by they're all as bad. But it's a wonder nation in all bloody locked behind doors, closed doors, shaking like gibbering wrecks to hear them talk. It's one thing after another. In a prime example is this obsession they have with what's coming, the electric cars. You just think nobody wants them. Let's be right. So but they're being forced on. So they're pursuing it, and it's going to happen. So
the thing I've always wondered.
Sorry.
Go on. Largo?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't like BBC, you can always watch GB News or Talk TV,
It's nice
Well,
on the BBC. The BBC logo, I'm a real champion of. I watch
I mean,
BBC4 regularly. There's no finer broadcaster for making documentaries, and
I
I
used
love my
to-
documentaries. So,
okay, yeah, well, there you go. Good. But a bit of a rare view these days of the BBC. I mean, a lot of people have kind of fallen out of love with the BBC. If it was,
Saturday.
yeah, go on, Largo.
Yeah, I was gonna say I do like Radio 5. I used to love, well, again, he's gone, Danny Baker.
Yeah, I used to like Radio 4 as well. That was I thought it was quite good. And there are things on the BBC that, to be fair, if you went and privatised the BBC, these things that people like would go out of existence because they're pretty good quality products, but they've got a niche market. So there's stuff that only the BBC could do.
Like you say, it's a lot of things where the quality of production, say, football coverage on BBC is a much better quality than TalkSport.
Right, for sure, yeah, but BBC hardly has any televised football anymore, as we know. It's a little bit.
Colin and Pat Niven.
Yeah, I mean, right. I mean, it's a bad line out there, mate. It's a bad line.
Bad line. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, mate. But yeah.
But I mean, I would rather have Colin Murray and Pat Nevin than anything on offer at Talk Radio.
Well, there wasn't Colin Murray at Talk Radio for a while. I'm sure he was, and I'm sure he got bombed out of the BBC the first time for making some rude comments on Fighting Talk or something. I don't even remember this.
He did originally have the Match of the Day 2 gig, didn't he, Colin Murray?
But he infamously, remember Bob Mills was on Fighting Talk. And he gave Bob Mills a defend the indefensible, and it was give me one evening and I could cure Claire Balding. I was like, no. I'm not the most PC of people, but no.
If there is a criticism of the BBC, it is for exactly this reason. That again, they seem to have adopted, which fair dues, they're the national broadcaster, but there seems to be a witch hunt within the BBC, a rooting out sort of thing. I mean, I don't know. I don't get it myself. I don't understand. I mean, what people.
Well,
there's things I like about it. That's my view on it.
You're right. You don't seem to get many dissenting voices on the BBC. Voices from the other side of the fence. So something I've noticed in my lifetime is, you get when people come out of academia and they go to university, they tend to come out different, and they tend to come out wedded to this kind of the orthodoxy I think you're talking about of wokery or whatever. And you don't get,
from a broadcaster's perspective, we can go back years, and we can say that back in the day, Channel 4 were your cutting edge channel, and they attracted some people. Channel 4, just for instance, Ricky Gervais were given his break on Channel 4. And BBC just seem to want them, and then not know how to handle these personalities, and then for whatever reason it backfires, and they make to me BBC make mountains out of molehills. That's out of things that really aren't there. I'm not saying everybody squeaky clean, but I don't know. There just seems to be that. The bereft of personalities.
The thing is,
personality is half at battle, and the BBC seem to be vaporising all personalities, and they might as well have robots. Yeah, on BBC News they'll go on about the threat of AI. They might as well have them now.
I mean, it's interesting because I think you're right that the epicenter of the BBC is in a completely different space to the epicenter of the general public. I think there's a real disconnect in terms of. No, I think the feeling I get when I just walk out and about is people are kind of fed up of woke nonsense, they're fed up of they're fed up of political correctness, and they want to get back to something a bit more real, and. I know what your point from the top was, Simon. They are the national, and they have got to play with a certain amount. They've got to play a little bit careful because obviously they're subject to getting complaints made against them, all sorts. They've got Ofcom to think about and that kind of thing. I can't remember the last time I watched anything funny on the BBC, for instance. I wouldn't touch BBC comedy with a barge pole. But Largo, have you got any thoughts on that? And if it's just to disagree, or
there's a weird clip that came up the other day on YouTube, and it was Morrissey on the One Show.
Yeah.
He said something where I couldn't think of a job I wanted to do, so I just didn't want any. I couldn't think of a job I wanted to do, so I just didn't do one. And they were very quick to shut him up, like, oh yeah, but that's not really possible nowadays, is it? It was like, it wasn't so much what he said, it's their reaction to somebody going off script. It was on the show. It was quite funny. I mean, it wasn't what he said that interested me. It was their reaction to what he said. It's like, oh, he's going off script. He's going rogue.
I'm glad in a way. Morrissey did have a job briefly, didn't he? Work for what is now HMRC. He had a job working in. He had a job.
Some of the absolute no marks they've had on Question Time, gosh, what was his name? The footballer. I'm trying to think. There's a footballer on once.
Joey Barton's been on. Clark Carlisle's been on.
Clark Carlisle. That was
Carlisle.
He was. But he was pretty. He was pretty.
Sees himself as an intellectual, isn't he?
Yeah. He was. I remember him being on it. Go on.
For me, I would much rather see Morrissey on it than Clark Carlisle.
Yeah.
Just for the controversy.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I can't see Morrissey ever agreeing to do it or being allowed to do it. Just.
It seems quite bright.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is, the other thing, I often make this joke about Question Time, which is that if you think the people on the panel are bad, how bad are the audience? Have you ever seen the Harry Enfield skit of Question Time? And there's this guy with a pullover and a northern accent. He puts his hand up and he goes, "I don't understand this Tracy Emin art."
There's your prime example of where BBC are going wrong, though, Daz. I mean, it's not so long since they did the old Question Time in our favourite part of the world, Dewsbury Town Hall. And lo and behold, it was an audience just for women. So it was an all-female audience. And you just think, why? Why do they do things like that? It's...
Is there something special about the women of Dewsbury that we don't know about? Or
well, I'm surprised they found a woman in Dewsbury that could speak more than 3 words together, to be honest.
Okay. Was Karen Matthews on the panel?
She'll have been on panel, yeah. She's probably hiding behind a burqa or something. Oh, I'm not being useful there, am I?
Oh, God. Right. Karen Matthews on the panel. Yeah, I'm just trying to think people from Dewsbury. Mike Stevenson's from Dewsbury as well, isn't he? The rugby player.
Mick Stevenson, yeah. He were 4-0 lad, yeah.
Yeah. Right.
I'm just actually... side point, there were an 87-year-old lady just died, and she was Dewsbury's most famous fan. She was never married. She was married to Dewsbury Rugby Club. The irony being, back in the day when her dad said he was going to take her to watch a game of rugby, who were going to take it to watch Batley, but they were playing away. And so we were back to watch. It broke my heart doing eulogy. And then when I mentioned Batley, the whole room booed. It was like, what are you doing? So
right.
I don't know who Preston's alternative is, who Preston dislike, and it's just local rivalry, I suppose.
I suppose it's Blackpool for us, isn't it? But Batley. Look, last time I checked, were they in a bit of a relegation battle to sort of stay in the Championship or what?
Yeah, they struggled this year. Yeah. So right. I mean, I don't pay much attention to rugby, to be honest. I've had to explain this last few weeks. You know, prior at home, it was my mum and dad that were rugby mad, and my younger brother. Yeah. I was never into it. Was football and cricket with me.
Yeah. No, so we just watched the end of a really good Test series as well. So you know,
brilliant series. I mean, I was absolutely gutted we threw it away, but fair play to India.
India won yesterday.
I mean, I think the feeling light on fourth day probably worked in their favour. Bowlers were all up and ready for it, weren't they, next morning? So
yeah,
37 runs are needed, but there was just that doubt there, wasn't there?
There was a funny sort of way, you know. They cut the wickets the night before, just at the end. I think just tipped it, because I think if we could have gone in there,
once they got Root out, you could see it happening. You thought, oh no, something's going to happen here.
yeah. I don't, because you know, one of the lads at work, he you know, is an Indian lad, and I said to him, you know, like, he thought this was a done deal, so England will get them. I said, I just wouldn't bet on it. I said, you get one early wicket, and all of a sudden it's game right back on, and that's exactly what happened.
I mean, there's part of me who wishes they hadn't sent Wokes out, you know, just accepted that it wasn't going to happen. But I suppose when there were only so many runs at stake, they were always going to do it. But it'd have been interesting to see what would have happened had they faced a delivery. So what would they have done?
Yeah, well, I mean, what you've told Chris Wokes to do, just get your bat down in front of the stumps and hope the ball hits it. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, but rather awkward, wouldn't it? Being a right-handed batsman, having it at back of him. So
I'd have just
in front.
I'm just thinking what would I have done. I'd have popped the bat down in front of the stumps, and I just hoped the ball didn't hit the stumps, and I'd have got out of the way. Are you there, Rocco?
Yeah, I'm here, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. Did you watch much of the cricket, or did you?
I don't have any of the sports channel.
Sorry?
Don't have any of the sports channel.
Oh right. Okay. You didn't watch the highlights or anything, or?
No. I mean, to be honest, I only caught the last match because I was in the car as it was happening.
Yeah.
I had Radio 5 on.
All right. Okay. Well, look, it was an epic series. I personally, I think 2-2 was a fair reflection of it. I think it was very even.
I think it was. Yeah, they're a good side of India.
Yeah.
And it's a testimony, I suppose, to how far we've come with Stokes and McCullum. You know, that there's that sense of disappointment that we didn't quite do it.
Yeah. I just think though, if England had won that 3-1, it would have been a slightly lopsided look, because it was very, very close, that series, and I think that was the right result.
Fantastic. Even the draw was a good game. So
yeah, it was.
Can't complain. Yeah.
So well played to both teams. Would be nice. Would be nice to everybody, and say well played to both teams. And it's the Ashes
next.
Fact
that we can hold us own with a team like India now does. That's pleasing, you know, because so long ago we want to stand a chance.
Well, no, I think at home England are a different proposition to away from home. I think that when we go away to Australia for the Ashes now, it's going to be very tricky, because you know, I don't think we've won a Test match in Australia since like 2011, and we get beat 4-0 and 5-0 in the last two series. It's been a bit of a nightmare. So you know, it's finding the sort of the players, particularly the bowlers who can go and do the damage, you know, away from home.
We've been spoilt with Anderson and Broad all these years, you see. So we're still trying to find that balance. see if we can get anything like. I mean, it'll be a hell of a find if we do, but there's always hope. Some of them look promising. Some are bowlers. I like Atkinson. I like Wood when he's fit. Archer, if he stays fit.
Yeah, it was good to see Jofra Archer back, and Mark Wood. You never know, Mark Wood might one day he might play 2 matches in a row. Right, and is that, like you're in a hospital. Is that actually a machine I can hear? Is that a machine I can hear in the background?
Half his trouble, isn't it? He bowls that fast. I mean, he's changing his action, hasn't he? But was it any wonder when you saw that short run up and he's still belting them down at 90 miles an hour? How on earth did he do it? You know.
Mark, mate. Yeah, hello.
Got you to left, Largo to top right. Oh, he's gone.
He's gone. Yeah, I could hear the beeping of a machine, and I think he's actually in the hospital. So I could hear what sounded like a machine.
I heard him say when we were starting, we were seeing.
So the machine. I could hear those machines beeping, and the thing is, the phone signals and they interfere with each other as well. Yeah. So
hospitals are notoriously bad and all for signals.
Hopefully Largo will come back, and if he doesn't, fingers crossed that his mate's all right. We've got a couple of things. I was going to tell you something about it. I was watching, I was listening actually to this podcast of the week. So it's called The Casual Criminalist. I don't often plug people's channels on here, but The Casual Criminalist is on YouTube. It's a pretty good sort of crime series, true crime. And I was listening to this thing about an Austrian killer called Jack Unterweger, right? And his story is interesting from a different point of view. Shall I just quickly go through what happened with him? It's quite gruesome bits in it, but I'll leave the gory bits out. So he killed within Jack Unterweger, right? And he killed a woman in about, I think it was 1975, and he got sentenced to life in prison for it in Austria. In the 80s, there was a left-wing government in Austria. They believed that, this was the theory that was knocking about at the time, that all crime was caused by deprivation, right? That it was that criminals were all kind of victims of society, and right, and there were no bad people. There were just people, right? And they had this thing that everybody could be rehabilitated, and we were going to have we're going to have a prisonless population. And the other thing was that in Austria, a life sentence didn't necessarily mean life. It meant that you would do a minimum of 15 years, which is fairly light. It's fairly lenient. 15 years.
Well, in this country, it'd be about 8, wouldn't it? So if they got 15 years, they'd do about 8.
Right. Well, but so it's 50. It's 50. So a life sentence is 15 years, then you go up for parole. And when he was in prison, Jack Unterweger started writing plays and stuff, and he wrote a book about his life that got turned into a film. And he wrote plays, and he got released from prison for a day, and he got to sit in the front row of the premiere for his in the theatre or the cinema for his stuff when it came out. And all these sort of liberal intellectuals in Austria were holding Unterweger up as like this poster boy for rehabilitation, like he's turned his life around, right? And like you think about this now, and you go, oh my God, right? And they start campaigning. Originally, they were campaigning to get him pardoned, not released after 15 years, pardoned, right? And thankfully, somebody in the Austrian government had enough sense to say, no, he was found guilty of this crime. We'll look at it again when he's done 15 years. And the other thing was that, like, when he was inside, there was a suspicion that he'd done another one in a few years later. So when he was in jail in the 80s, he was linked with another murder, and they sort of swept that one under the rug because there was a lot of political capital invested in this idea that people could be rehabilitated through the arts and stuff like that. Me neither. And anyway, it gets up to
question, Gaz. Who was the Austrian Chancellor at this time? Was it Gerhard von Corbin?
Right. Yeah, there you go. Well, Austria's got a fine tradition of producing artists. There was a famous painter from Vienna, wasn't there, in the 20s? And there was there you go. Art rehabilitates people, turns you nice. So he gets up to his 15 years, and there's all this pressure on the prisons to release him. Right? They want to believe in this narrative of art rehabilitating this guy.
Yeah.
And you know, there were a couple of dissenting voices. There were obviously women's groups who were saying, you know, do please remember what he did. And there were more conservative people saying, well, it doesn't quite work that way. Just because he's good at writing plays doesn't mean he's reformed. They're not the same thing. So he gets out in the late 80s, and well, guess what he goes and does several times over. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah, and it's astonishing, really. I think that, and they were saying it's parole hearing that you know, he'd done all this work and he's got an outlet now. No, he's got, you know, a person can be very talented and bad and dangerous at the same time. It's quite possible.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, but just astonishing what people thought. That was the thing that occurred to me, that people thought that.
It beggars belief. I mean, why have a judiciary if they're gonna, if a government of any persuasion can just decide, okay, we're going to change this, we're going to do that, and the reasons are quite bonkers, really, aren't they? You know, he's not a bad one. He was a good-natured murderer.
He had a rough childhood, yeah.
Like wrapping a lion up in a teddy bear suit, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, I mean,
it's instances like this, though, Daz, that makes me how I am. You know, you can't believe it. Beggars belief, you know, and you just think, how did this happen? But it happens over and over and over again. You know, yeah. So there's just when you think world can't get any madder, you just know someone's out corner that's going to dispel that fear. You know,
well, the thing is, well, he was very manipulative. He was a narcissist, this guy as well, and he was very good at manipulating people. You know, he obviously knew what to say when he was up in front of the parole board. He used to do. I mean, he did a lot of media stuff when he got out of jail. He became a celebrity.
He was a good politician. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but he knew exactly how to play people. He knew what people wanted to hear. He knew what this thread was. This thread was at the time that you know that there were people looking for a poster boy for this idea of rehabilitation. Look, I'll tell you what. I was just thinking about it when I was watching it, and I was like, the thing is, like, the fact that he was strutting around and being famous while he was in prison, he was like a celebrity prisoner. And the fact that he was being famous when he got out should have been an enormous red flag to anybody who thought about it for 5 seconds.
Absolutely.
Because if you know anybody who has done wrong and reformed themselves and turned their life around, and lots of people do actually, the thing about real rehabilitation sites, it's quietly lived. You don't hear from them. They just get on with their life.
Politician again. I'm not singling any party out. They're all as bad. It's caught out the lengths that their own party and the colleagues will go to defend them until it gets to the point that it's realised that what they've done is quite indefensible, really.
Yeah, and
they just do it time and time and time and time again, and they wonder why folk don't want to vote. They don't trust them. You know, going back to what you sent me earlier this week, but you know my thoughts on that one.
Let's do it.
MP.
Well, let's do it. Well, I'm thinking of something slightly different, but you know, let's do that. Let's have a quick chat about that. So I sent you this thing, the independent local networks model. I'll just quickly go through what the thinking behind it. So yeah, the section one was called "The Party's Over," which of course is the Talk Talk's first album as well. So the party system's broken. Trust in political parties at an all-time low. I think we can agree on that. And even the parties that appear to be trying to be different, like Reform, they quickly fall into the party trap. You get people who think that giving a party 20 quid equals activism. They descend into factions that are always fighting each other rather than that. A lot of parties end up being grifting operations, people with their fingers in the till. We are a serious group of people committed to real change by winning elections. We live in the real world where there's no easy answers, basically. So I think there's nothing to disagree with in that.
I think you're completely right in thinking mainstream political parties. I just get bored of them, and I just think in here, out there, I dare say more than 50% of the country feel exactly the same. You just think you're so deflated. Yeah. You honest, it genuinely is a case now where I don't like using terms like the ordinary working man or woman, but there's no trust there. They're not representative of the people they're purporting to represent. It's just they live in a different world to the rest of us. Totally another. Because I firmly believe you should go out and vote. I believe it, vote. But here's my confessional now. The last general election, I didn't vote.
Well, that's absolutely.
I simply decided that none of the candidates were worth my vote, worthy of it. So,
Simon, mate, there's nothing. Well, I take a slightly different view to you. I understand your point of view, but I also think there's nothing wrong with not voting.
My way I look at it, folk died, folk fought for the vote and all that lot, and I think it's you can't really bemoan your lot if you don't do it. But
I wouldn't feel guilty about it. I'd take a different view. I think that
this is coming from someone that, when he was young and daft, blindly voted Labour. Thinking that they were. And then I do genuinely think, and this again might be controversial, I don't know, I hope not, but I do think people, I don't like the terminology because that idiot PM uses it, but I think people do tend to lean more to the right as they get older, shall we say. I'm not saying they become right-wing extremists, far from it, but when they're mature and they've got responsibilities, they realise, hang on a minute. There's
all sorts of reasons why that is sad, because like the world for as long as I can remember has been going in a more kind of left liberal direction, right? Mm-hmm. And so if I look at myself, I'm saying like 20 years ago, I was pretty much like a centrist and a groovy liberal. But I look now, I don't think my opinions on much have changed. It's the world that's changed, and the framing, and and people would consider me right of centre now. But I don't think I've changed my mind about much. The interesting thing about what you were saying about voting and politics, whatever. I mean, I think that the fundamental analysis I've got is that the party system itself is part of the problem. It's the idea of parties. They're no longer fit for purpose in the way they were, say, 60, 70 years ago.
It's not just in this country either, though, Daz. Look what's happened in America. I mean, it's a populist president. He's said the things he thinks people want to hear. He's trying to implement these tariffs and everything, and then when minute any of them say, all right, you can have tariffs back then in return, he retracts and changes his mind, and it's a bonkers system. And the real worry is, I mean, don't get me wrong, I fully understand the appeal of someone, mine and your friend Mr. Farage, but no way do I think he's the solution, because I think, again, he's going to say things that the mainstream media ignore, which is another matter, another issue completely. And he'll highlight them, and folk like him for that. But to put him in a position of power, I should have think.
Nigel Farage, you're right. I mean, we'll come to about Farage in a second, but one of the things that Farage reminds me. Do you know that mate down the boozer who 4 or 5 pints deep, right? And you say to him, you say, and he speaks common sense. He's like the professor of the bar stool. And you go, oh, you're right. You should run for parliament, but you don't bloody mean it, right? It's beer talk, right? You know, and it reminds me of that professor of the bar stool, right? But he's actually like, we're actually talking about what, like, making him the prime minister in 2029. You know, he's actually the betting favourite at the minute, which is bonkers. I mean, you need more than vacuous slogans. You need more than white noise. You need more than anger. You need credible policies that might actually work.
On a local level, as you see, the Reform candidate they put forward here in the last general election, he must have been fresh out of nappies because his grammar and his spelling were atrocious. And I'm thinking, why the hell should I vote for you if you can't go to trouble of getting your message across accurately, properly, you know? And I'm one of them. Been no chance.
We're talking spelling mistakes in leaflets and things like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, when you see some posts that he was putting online, you just think this lad's an illiterate idiot, you know, and he wants to be our MP. I don't think so. So, but maybe that's my a criticism of me, that I'm a bit like that, you know. I just think, well, if they can't be bothered to go to trouble of being concise in the message, being proper about it, no, I don't want to know.
Well,
to the same extent as not having a go at your friend that were on earlier, Largo, we've got the independent MP that's got in on the Palestine ticket. Now, I'm not saying what's happening in Palestine's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. But I want an MP that's going to focus wholly on what's good for Batley.
Well, you're right.
Miles away.
You're absolutely right, Sam. I've said this many times before. There seem to be far too many people in Britain who care about the Middle East far more than they care about their own country.
Sorting it out. It's been going on 80 odd years or more. So
no, it's not. We've not got the means. It's not within our gift to sort it out. It's for the people of that region to work out what they want. And they need to stop electing murderous warlords on both sides. That's my view. They need to start making the argument for reconciling with each other.
Sugarcoat it. There's no way Israel would act how they do without the backing of Americans. So,
no,
they just know they won't be able to do it.
No, but there needs to be a desire on the part of the people of that region for peace and reconciliation. And at the end of the day,
you can't have countries like Iran wanting them wiping off face of earth 1 minute, and then offering them an olive branch next. It's not going to last 2 minutes. Any form of peaceful solution. But then again, I don't think Israel deciding they're going to occupy Gaza City is right, you know. But hey, it's way beyond my pay grade.
The shorthand that I always came to on this one, Simon, was there were no good guys in this, only bad guys on all sides. And that's basically the way I look at it.
I think you're right.
Yeah, and there's no point picking a side. There's no point picking a side because you're going to be in bed with bad guys regardless. So you're right. You've got an independent MP in Batley who seems to be more interested in Palestine than she is in Batley, which is just
he did speak in Parliament defending the right to marry cousins and things, you know, things they're trying to stop. So in my book, he's not doing a right good job, you know. But unfortunately, because they've now merged, they did away with the Batley and Spen seat, and it's now Batley and Dewsbury.
Right.
So he'll get re-elected without fail. It doesn't matter what he does or doesn't do. It's guaranteed.
We had Pete North on a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about, there is a particular demographic of people. We'll pick our words with a bit of care, but they seem to have formed a very powerful voting bloc now, and can decide who gets in particular seats, and that's where the phenomenon of these independents have come from. And I'm nervous about it because you don't want the politics of the Middle East to be dominating our parliament. I don't want it to be. I mean, there's so many things we need to be fixing here that I don't want to be wasting time.
I just squirmed today. I don't even know what they were discussing, but JD Vance, whatever vice president, stopping at minute with that waste of space foreign secretary of ours, Lammy. He's a piece of work. I'm sorry.
Well, David Lammy's just, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of, we talked about this before, but it's an indicator of, the decline of the quality of people in Parliament that David Lammy is in the position he's in. We'll just say that. I mean, to be honest with you, in eras gone by, Lammy would be kind of like a figure of fun, a sort of maverick backbencher you found vaguely amusing. The idea that he's in the position he's in is it's a worry, and it's a symptom of something worse.
Well, this is the thing with this current government. Would have had 13 years of opposition, however long it was.
Yeah.
And every one of that Labour front bench just played student politics while in opposition, and now they're in positions of power. And first thing Lammy had to do was eat a big plate full of humble pie because of everything he'd said about Trump and everything, So they have to be careful. And
but you can't play student politics.
The thing with our politicians, Daz, and I think this is the overriding factor, to say that they want to be in a position of power and serve in public office, and they have where the media is concerned, they're absolutely self-obsessed. But they have absolutely zero perception of themselves. They don't realise some of the stuff they come out with, some of the stuff they do has repercussions. And it don't matter, again, it don't matter which party it is. And that's the trouble. Everybody knew Boris were an idiot and a wrong and a liar, but they thought well of him. So I don't know. I do despair. I just think no, but he were a better alternative. That said, to Corbyn, imagine what we'd have had if he'd have got in. Christ Almighty!
We would have. He was going to go on a. The thing about people with that kind of politics side is they want to do everything immediately. They don't believe in gradualism. Just back to that little point at the end of that section there. I said there's no magic money tree. Is the reason I want to say, but there is no magic money tree, and you might want to do all this, whatever you want to do. If you haven't got the money to do it, then you haven't got the money. You're going to have to do it over 15, 20 years. The thing with that kind of politics, that kind of radical, they want to do everything in one go. And they'll do it. They'll try and do it, regardless of whether they've got the means to do it or not, whether the sums add up or not. And they just don't live it. They don't live in fiscal reality. Yeah. The
real trouble is, Daz, what we've veered into now, which with what's happened with internet and 24-hour news coverage, you were bound to happen. But personally, I couldn't stand the woman. But you look at Thatcher. She was a politician of principles, whether you agreed with them or not. I actually think a lot of what she did was very, very damaging. But she didn't care what anybody thought. She stood by what she said she was going to do. And like it or lump it was a perception. And then further down the line, we get Tony Blair. Back in 1997, I cheered when he got in, I'm thinking, oh, great. Things can only get better, pardon the pun. And he was just tailor-made for TV. Does that make sense? He'd have made a great actor. And sadly, since Tony Blair come to power, that's what we've had. Media personalities or whoever's compatible with a TV lens. Fathead Cameron. I didn't reckon much to him neither. But sick here, he's got a bit worse than lot. He's
Well,
he's got all the appeal of a damp cloth as that man. And to be fair, when he comes up telly, I just turn it over. It's like I'm not listening to him.
yeah.
He's not speaking for me, whatever it is. So,
well, you mentioned Tony Blair.
And it's sad that I feel like that.
No, it is, but it's not your fault, if you will. You mentioned Tony Blair, and it was when Pete was on a couple of weeks ago. I would say because a lot of people point to Tony Blair as like a signpost in like where things really change and not for the better, right?
Mm-hmm.
What you said about Margaret Thatcher is spot on. I mean, Margaret Thatcher was a conviction politician. She was one of those people. She believed, and she was very divisive. Lots of people loved her, by the way. Lots of people thought she was wonderful. Yeah. And she kind of split people down the middle in that sense. The main thing that helped Margaret Thatcher was that the opposition of the 80s was an absolute joke and a mess. But I was saying to Pete when we got onto Tony Blair, I said the thing is, politicians have always lied to an extent, right? They've never been the most honest of people. I think that's never going to change. But do you not think that if you look at Tony Blair and like the new Labour years, like I think they took political lying to like scary new levels that had never been seen before. I mean, like the lies they used to tell, the promises they used to make at elections, the stuff they used to say about the political opponents. It's like there's always been the odd cheeky lie got in manifestos and things like that, or the odd pipe dream, and then you turn it, we can't afford that. But I just thought like with Blair and the new Labour thing, it's like they just didn't. They would just lie. They'd look you in the eye and they'd lie to your face, and it's just like it was mendacious. It was like really, and it's been that way ever since. I mean, you mentioned Boris. I remember after the Brexit referendum, and I obviously kick around with maybe a slightly different wing of politics together. I know people on a wing of politics, maybe you don't. And there were people going, "Yeah, we need Boris as Prime Minister." I'm like, "Are you out of your fucking mind?" Right?
I just remember when I'm thinking, there's Boris as our Prime Minister, we've got Trump as President in America.
Yeah.
This can only end in disaster. And again, with your conspiracy theorists, whatever you want to call it, I mean, I'm just glad it's all over, obviously, but I genuinely think, as daft as it sounds, because ultimately it led to his downfall, but I think the pandemic saved Boris for a year or two, playing the big hero and I'm sorted country out, and folk bought it.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's an old line about Boris, that Boris has basically every job he's ever been in, he's left it in some sort of disgrace, and it's often because he's lied about something.
Going
right back to when he was at the Spectator or the Telegraph or whatever. It's like he's left several jobs over acts of dishonesty. And so you knew what was going to happen with it.
You knew what they were getting with Boris. I think that's sadly, again, it boils down to how they come across in media. Let's be right. Thatcher, when she were in power, she had very, very weak opposition. I mean, it always makes me laugh when a politician dies. Michael Foot, when he was leader, were a disaster for the Labour Party. Complete disaster. He looked a scruffy bastard. He spoke absolute nonsense. Minute he kicks bucket, one of the greatest politicians we've ever had. And you think, wow. Then you get Neil Pillock, as I call him, and his crooked missus, So, and you just think, is it any wonder Thatcher's got this air of invincibility about her, because there's nothing there? And then it happened with Blair. The only one decent opposition they put up against Blair were William Hague, but he was a very clever bloke. A lot of what he said made sense, but the crux of the matter was the public hated him because his media persona were non-existent.
Well, so he was around. It was around at the wrong time as well, Si. It was around at a time when the Tories were hated as a brand as well. I mean, like,
Yeah, absolutely.
People
Which is
just
what
hated.
happened last time.
Yeah.
It's not because Labour have come up with anything that anybody particularly wants. They just want to rid of Tories.
I mean,
And now,
yeah.
a certain Mr. Farage has cottoned onto that, and he's now saying, like I said earlier, he's saying the things that the drunk in the pub will say, and folk are swallowing it.
Yeah. It's working for him short term. I can only think though, as we get closer to an election, he's gonna have to come under more scrutiny, and you would hope so. And you would hope that he's going to have to. Well, you're promising this and this and this. Well, how's all this going to be paid for? Does this work in real life? You say you're gonna leave this international organisation. Well, and do what? A lot of what he says is back of a fag packet. He hasn't thought about it. And the other thing, a lot of reform. The other thing, reform. They haven't got a shadow cabinet that you know. They haven't got a team.
Knee-jerk reactions.
Yeah,
that's what he feeds off.
But that's the other thing. If he's going to win an election, he's going to have to tell you who's going to be the chancellor, who's going to be the home secretary, who's going to be. Yeah. I couldn't tell you. Yeah. Because
I say sadly, but she's not going to last much longer. Tories have got as leader. I can't see her lasting while election.
No, I mean I think the Tories are they're a little bit like a team that's bottom of the league, and you could get the best manager in the world in. I mean, they haven't got the best manager in the world, but you could get Guardiola.
They're the Southampton of politics right now, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think they're beyond the pale. I think they're gone. I think they've got a major problem in terms of how they're perceived. And the thing was, there are parts of the north, as that gave the Tories a chance in 2019. That gave them the benefit of the doubt,
and they blew it.
Yeah, and they had a big opportunity to govern for the whole country in 2019, and Boris went and did what Boris did, and blew it. Really.
I've got to confess, and it's not something I can live with it because I did it, but I always vowed, because you've got to bear in mind, as I was leaving school, we'd just had the miners' strike, and I left school, and I was so deflated, and I'm thinking, what the hell am I going to do with my life? You just felt helpless. And I blamed Thatcher for that, her government. And I always vowed that while ever I had a breath in my body, I'd never vote Tory. But I was that alarmed at the prospect of Corbyn getting in. That election, I voted for a Tory. And I did it.
Right.
And it's the first time I've ever done it. I've obviously not done it since, because like I say, I didn't vote at the last one. It didn't sit comfortably with me. So going back to what you were saying about the Tories being given places that I never dreamt of being given, there must have been thousands of others like me out there.
Well, there were. I mean, I was having an argument with a Corbyn supporter last week, funnily enough, and I was making this point about, because he's got a new party now. I was saying, well, you do know there's an awful lot of sort of patriotic, socially conservative, working class people who cannot bloody stand that man, right? Yeah. And these are the people who put Tories in the what became the blue wall, in 2019. These are the people who voted Tory for the first time in their lives. I even said that.
Absolutely.
And I mean, that was a golden opportunity for the Tories to be in office for another 2 or 3 terms, and they absolutely spunked it up the walls. They've no one to blame for. No one to blame for themselves.
To be fair, when they got these seats, they talked, didn't they? But they weren't prepared to walk the walk. This Northern powerhouse, and it were all folly. It were all. But I'm happy being a Northerner, even though I do come from Southern stock. It emerged, but I think there's far too much focus on London as a whole, and that's exactly where Corbyn's world is, with the tofu eating brigade. And no offence to anybody that does actually like tofu, but that's all I see people that voted for Corbyn has been.
I don't mind tofu, actually. Don't mind it, but you got to have something with flavour with it because it hasn't got any flavour its own. But the thing with the Tories was, I think they would have had to, but they had to do this. They would have had to upset some of their own kind of home constituency to keep their new northern to keep their new northern voters happy. But they should have done it. They should have bent over backwards to do it. You know, these people who you never thought were going to vote for you have done so. They've put you in office in places where you never thought you'd win. Look, I would get make it. Sorry. Yeah, I very good. I get making those people a priority, and I get spending money on them. You know, that's what I do, and that means investing in those places. You know, but you're right. There was all that stuff about levelling up and northern powerhouses and things like that, and precious little delivery. We'll say that. So, yeah.
Did any of us up here actually believe it, that it were ever going to happen? You know.
Well, go on.
Speaking as a 55-year-old cynic, you know, I've just seen it and heard it so many times, and I think this is the matter. Going back to what I was saying about choosing not to watch news nowadays, you know, I'm not what I'd call an environmentalist, but I've written songs about the environment, you know, and you just think I'm only relaying, trying to take into this adult bonds of mine what I'm hearing and turn it into some form of song. One of us better known songs, Where Do They Get Off? That all centered around, and I found it absolutely bizarre when and that was a piece on BBC going back. Blame it on the former generations, the one that won the war. For they did us no easy favours. They made our lifestyles poor. And then I mentioned things about I've enough on my plate as it is, you know, without the world tearing me apart. And that were all a report based on how after rationing, as plate sizes got bigger, which led to the obesity eruption, if you like.
Yeah.
And it were all, you know, and I just thought, how insulting, you know, this folks knew genuine hardship, you know, fought for the country, you know, where do they get off, you know? And I actually wrote that as a joke, and I'm still this year that Al picked it out as something he wanted to record, you know. But that just goes to show you I can throw all sorts at him. Nothing surprises. That's definitely a song about the news. Found myself laughing at another injustice, the familiar cry of how can they do this? Nothing surprises anymore. We've lost its shock value. Nothing does shock us anymore.
No, we don't tend to get as annoyed about things as we used to either.
We've become battle weary, aren't we? Accustomed to it. We just think
we've become sort of institutionalised. You know, all of that. Sorry,
that's the sad thing in all this, Daz. The fact that we have 24-hour TV now, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. We as a country, and I dare say other countries, we just believe everything that we're fed. And that's dangerous. There's no one asking questions. And I genuinely think a lot of these so-called campaigners, whatever you want to call them, they think it's the right thing to do. You know, it's not that they particularly believe in it. You know, some of them. I'm not saying that there aren't some that don't believe it. That'd be wrong. But I just think the world's mad to campaign about something that, sadly, we've already touched on. It's not going to change. Don't matter.
I was talking to me in the week about marches. People think marches achieve things. They really don't. You know, they might make people feel good about themselves, right? But in this day and age, you know, I know you can talk about, you know, the civil rights, the suffragettes, whatever, but in this day and age, marches achieve nothing because the government now has like the power to just ignore you, and if the government doesn't want to listen to you, it won't. And you've just seen this in Epping, and our other friend Tommy's been back in the news again, hasn't he? He got himself in trouble again, and like, you know, people going on these marches, and it isn't going to achieve anything.
I mean, don't get me wrong, guys. I remember going back to the miners' strike, which, to be fair, I'm in a part of Yorkshire where mines were long gone.
Yeah.
So I remember at 14, 15-year-old thinking, well, it doesn't affect us. So I can remember seeing Scargill on telly every day, and that's where miners went wrong. I actually agreed with why they were striking, why they felt the need to strike, but where they went wrong, or they put 100% faith in a lunatic. Again, a lunatic, Scargill, absolute idiot.
And self-serving with it as well. You know, out for himself. What was that old joke about Arthur Scargill?
Absolutely.
You know, the old joke about Arthur Scargill is he started the strike with a big union and a small house, and he ended it with a big house and a small union.
Yeah.
You know, and it was oddly self-seeking, and it was quite obvious when you watch some of the. You know,
the fact is that there's communities still in South Yorkshire, Nottinghamshire, that's held on to that, what Thatcher did to them, and they never recovered. You know, you see some horrible places down South Yorkshire, especially near Rotherham and Barnsley, and you know, when she said there were no such thing as community, she was hell bent on proving it as well. You know, so she destroyed communities. So that's the wrench where I battled with it, because I remember, I won't say I blamed everything on Thatcher, but a lot of what she did I didn't agree with. You know, let's leave it at that.
You're far from alone.
I have an obsession. I have a fascination with history. I love my history, and if I watch anything 1980s related now, you think, well, I can relate to this. I was there, and I remember that. You know, you just think, was she right? And there'll still be people out there that'll say, oh, she was absolutely right to do what she did. And there'll still be folks saying she was evil. I wouldn't go as far as saying she was evil, but she was a politician of conviction. She did the right thing, I suppose, in smashing union power. That's one thing that after the 70s, that's definitely what needed to happen. Nobody
I mean, people forget.
Prepared to take them on.
People forget that side as well. People forget that when there were 3-day weeks, there were blackouts, there was even for a brief period, there were dead bodies not getting buried.
Yeah,
you know, the unions have absolutely had a gun to the head of the rest of the country, and we're running riot, and it did need to stop. It did need to stop. And let's be fair, who funds the Labour Party? It's the unions. So let's be fair. It's only going to be a cold. And
you've currently got the biggest one threatening to withdraw the support and unite or whatever it is.
Are they threatening to run over?
Sick of another. God help us if his deputy gets in.
Oh God, yeah. Well, she's not the sharpest shovel in the mine, is she? So it's absolutely. People do forget that. I mean, Britain was called the sick man of Europe as well, and it had been to the IMF for a bailout. You know, it wasn't. Britain was in a pretty bad state, and it was. You know, and look, this is one of those instances, I think, where you know the left, if you will, was quite determined to be in opposition. They don't want to clean up the mess. You were going to need a cold, hard, nasty Tory to do it. Only a cold, hard, nasty Tory could have done it. Yeah, and it was far from painless. That's
what I've always said, Daz. To sum it up in a nutshell, what I've always said to folk when it comes to Labour and Conservatives, I'll say Labour's trouble is they try to be all things to all men and women, and they can't do it. it's impossible.
Mhm.
Whereas with Tories, you know exactly what you're going to get. You know what the agenda is, what they're going to do. And yes, most of them are bastards. But they know what they're doing, bastards. Whereas the student socialists among us that get into power, oh,
But I'm just conscious of the time. We're going to wrap up in 5 minutes, so if that's all right with you.
all right.
Yeah, but it's like you've got a failing company, Simon. Sometimes you need a horrible bastard to come in as the CEO,
Absolutely.
and lay people off and make cost savings and and shut things down if necessary to keep the company alive. There was no nice way of cleaning up the mess of like the late 70s. There was literally no nice way at all. So
we were on our 70s. I mean, what staggers me is you look at London. I mean, all right, you can say it's been taken over by Russians and Saudis buying alt property, pushing alt property prices up. But in 1970s, it were a rat-infested hellhole. It just. So this, maybe it's because I'm a Londoner, bollocks. Never washed with me, because when you watch something like Sweeney on telly, that's exactly what 70s London were like. It were horrible. It weren't the centre of the universe like it is now.
No, that's it. Dark and dingy clubs down alleyways. Yeah, like a lot of violence as well.
Yeah.
I'm glad I wasn't alive in the 70s. But you listen to the accounts.
I was a kid in the 70s, so I excuse myself. I was born in 70.
But you listen to people. You listen to people who were around in wherever in the 70s. Things like violence in pubs are very common things. Fights.
Look at football hooligans. It's just the rise of it in the 70s. So we have a social problem.
British football fans used to go abroad and cause absolute carnage. It was like the national sport.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was even a flirtation with the system of football hooliganism is like a certain kind of politics, and for a few years in the 70s, weren't the National Front threatening to make a breakthrough as well? There was a period where they thought they were going to get in. They were not win elections, but get people into Parliament and actually get some of their people elected. And they fell just short. Was it in 1974? And then they started fighting amongst themselves, as they often do. Yep. It doesn't sound like a brilliant decade, does it? Might not be a good decade of music, but apart from that,
with music, like the so-called golden period, the rock period, 60s and early 70s, don't do it for me. I preferred it as things got a little darker, shall we say, with the new wave. Not necessarily punk. There's some good punk. There's a lot of shite punk, and then ultimately led to new wave, and gradually, I suppose, what I got into. So at 60s, I like the. How can I put it? I like the balladeers, the crooners, and I do like the Beatles. But when they started going all psychedelic and you can shove Pink Floyd and Queen up your ass, it's.
Well, I prefer Pink Floyd to Queen, but that's not terribly difficult. But I do find a lot of that arty kind of rock. A lot of that in the 70s as well. Prog generally. Find it, it's just a bit pretentious to me. There's a great. Was that great?
More wanking. There's nothing worse, is there? It's awful.
There was that great joke about in Muslim countries they banned entertainment, and I wrote, but prog rock continues as normal, Just a quick one before we nip off. I think. Did you have any observations about that ILN thing that I sent you? The idea, the model, any good positive thoughts, critical thoughts? Or?
A lot. Well, like what you put in and what you said is right. Folk have lost complete trust and faith in the established parties. But the sad thing in this country is proved over and over again. When it comes to things like a local election, you'll see lots of independents getting in, given a chance. But when it comes to general elections, they all close ranks again and go back to doing what they've always done. I mean, the joke was once upon a time in somewhere like Rotherham, you could put a red ribbon on a house brick and it'd still get elected, you know. So
yeah. It could be dog with a red nose.
Really sad state of affairs, because as I've just touched on there, you know, I mean, these communities what Thatcher helped to destroy by doing what she did with miners. I've always had this theory as I've got older. It's to Labour's advantage that they thrive in so-called deprived areas and poor areas, and I think there's an element believes that they deliberately keep it that just because they know the vote's guaranteed there. Until such as the red wall falling as it did under Boris, but they blew it, didn't they? So
do you mean by that, Si, that once people have got like a nice standard of living, maybe they own their own house, and you know they can go on holiday, and they can maybe God forbid send their kid to private school or something like that.
Yeah.
That's when they start voting Conservative. Is that your thinking?
I just think I've not seen any improvement. You hear all this talk of we're investing this, that, and other.
Yeah.
We're putting so many millions in. For example, we're going to give Dewsbury 20 million. It's still a shanty town and it's dead, full of boarded up shops. Batley's not quite as bad, but what we've got in Batley is a rat-infested hellhole thanks to all takeaways that's in town centre, you know. I mean, so you have to ask yourself, which would you rather see, boarded up eyesores or something at least there, whether you like it or not. But yeah, and the real tragedy is nobody in the right mind now, no right-thinking businessman would see Batley or Dewsbury as a good place to invest, because it's not.
Yeah, I mean,
Crux of the matter, it's not. And until somebody actually has the balls to firstly acknowledge that, and then they can go into whys and wherefores it's got like it has. That's not for me to say. You can have your own opinions on it. But no, and I just think it's sad because I'm on the Batley History Group committee. I'm committed to my town. But I think in time, given opportunity, I'd join the hordes and bugger off, you know. And someone that made a film on his town 10 years ago and we're proud of it. I often say, if somebody said, are you going to make one now? I'd say, not a chance. But that said, I have got another project pipeline. I'm going to make a documentary based on our beloved historian who passed away in November's book. He had 4 books published about the history of Batley. And I want to do a multi-series episode, you know, documentary on the history of Batley and expand on it a little bit, you know, such as I like workhouses were and how schools came about and where they were and stuff. And the ultimate vote for that, Daz, is to have it shown in local schools. Because I genuinely believe, and maybe this is just a pure fantasist's thinking, I don't know. I do believe that if all schools included at least a double period of local history, you wouldn't have half as much of the social mess that we find ourselves in nationwide. If folk knew where they'd come from and what they were coming to and why, they might have a bit more pride in it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just...
Yeah, maybe if you only did it for, you know, there's only so much you can do. If you did it for a year or something.
Yeah.
You know, today we're going to be discussing Robert. Today we're going to be discussing Robert Palmer. Right? He was from Batley, wasn't
he? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of history in Batley. I mean, there was an history before Industrial Revolution, which is the first part I'm trying to focus on. How it came about, you know. I mean, it was a tiny little hamlet with Batley.
You make just one last point. You make a really good point. I've been saying this for a long time. It's like people talk about what governments can do for areas like Batley, Dewsbury, whatever. But what these places need, they need private sector investment. They need businesses.
You're not going to get it, Daz.
They need businesses to start employing people in these towns, right? And get the money merry-go-round of the local economy going. And that's the only way
two big employers in Batley, and that's Fox's Biscuits.
Yeah.
Which has undergone several takeovers and changes, and there's constant talk of that being moved to Utoxeter, where they've got another factory or something. I mean, I don't know what state of play is with it now. I've not heard out for ages. And other ones, what were Kalon Paints, Johnston's Paints. It's now PPG. That was Leslie Silver's company, the former Leeds chairman.
Yeah.
And that employs a lot of folk. That's at Birstall. Dewsbury, I'm trying to think who Dewsbury's biggest employer would be now. And when you think these towns thrived, and I mean thrived, they were an important part of it's known as the heavy woolen area where we are, because of all the mills, still known as local football leagues, the heavy woolen district, so but I just can't see where it's going to come from. I really can't. And again, the power of protest, rightly or wrongly, Amazon, I think, was after opening a massive warehouse in Cleckheaton, which is just up road. And the public outcry meant it was never going to happen. And it's right outside of M62, so it'd have been ideal, so...
people need to get
maybe
real.
Some folk don't want change, Daz. They don't want things to get better. It's like, this is what I'm saying. I mean, again, maybe it's the cynic in me. I just think it's to Labour's benefit to keep areas like ours as they are, because they know they'll always have support there. If they're going to promise things are going to get better and it doesn't, they can still get away with saying things are going to get better,
Yeah, and look, I'm sounding as cynical as you here. People who've got nothing tend to vote for parties like Labour for reasons.
Yeah.
That's a shame. I mean, what you were saying there about the Amazon thing, but people are actually prepared to sort of mutilate themselves on the pedestal of what they think about Amazon as a company. At the end of the day, Amazon were going to open a warehouse that was going to employ people. Give yourself a slap.
Employed a lot of people as well, and you can look at where they wanted to put it. The residents were concerned it were going to spoil greenbelt land or whatever, and ultimately, and again, this is probably Thatcher's doing, if you like. Folk are more obsessed now about what they've got and want to keep hold of what they've got, such as they see the house prices rocket and they think they're sitting on a gold mine. What they don't realise is everybody else's house prices have gone up. So the days of making a killing on an house now is not what it was.
No, sure. All right, it's a bit of a gloomy episode there, but so just good luck with the book. If there's anything that anyone here can do to help and support with it, give us a shout. When you get working on it and come back and you want to plug the book, then please do.
Well, that'd be a good idea. So, apart from, I've messaged out today to ask him if he was going tomorrow. Two of his mates, like I said, he moved house last year and I haven't been over, so. It's long overdue. I mean, he keeps saying, I'm going to do something. So then I'll go through a spate trying to write something and send him them. And then he might say, I like this one and I've done something with this. And then that's last year for ages. So we've had a few non-starts. Who knows? We might do another one. I hope so, because I do miss it. But I was going to ask about doing a score for this documentary. So, yeah, I might do
Get the man from the Tortoise to do the score of get the score for the film. But if it's a documentary or a book or anything else, obviously when you're working on it or it comes out, come back on. We'll plug it. We'll do a talk about it. I'm sure it'll be great.
Fantastic,
And I don't know what to say about it. It's been a bit of a kind of downcast tone about various things, but I think. The takeaway for me, Simon, is that you're going to have to start. You're going to have to stop voting for these dead parties. You're going to have to start putting competent, independent people in. But you're also going to have to realise that if you want to improve where you live, it's really going to be principally through your own efforts, because you've tried the red team and the blue team, and it's not really worked out for you. I think that people have got to realise that it's really got to come from them.
Well, like I said to you, Daz, when. The sad thing for me to have to tell you, because I do believe what you wrote were good, and a lot of what you're proposing is good. But the fact that we've already got an independent MP, and how can I put it? The less said about him, the better.
Well, that's not quite on the model that I was talking about, is it? I mean, the thing is with that.
But sadly, that's. If you were certainly if you were to canvass it here, your model, your idea, folk could instantly just throw that at you. Well, we've got one, and he's hopeless. But
the thing is,
it still doesn't detract from the fact what you're trying to say is folk are absolutely pissed off to high heaven at red half and blue half. I mean, I don't ever include yellows. They're all right flipping burgers at McDonald's, that lot. But I don't know, and this is what I meant right at the beginning when I just said I despair, really. Heard it all before.
There you go. So
Note's getting better. Note will get better while it keeps going that way.
Yeah, but so there you go.
In essence, I agree with what you said.
Well, yeah, but it's interesting what you said about the particular model I was talking about. Yeah, but that's the thing I would say to anybody: can you just stop voting for these useless parties that have done. But I go further than that, and I say actually the party system that's the problem. It doesn't work in the way that it used to work. And I would say to anybody, think all you need, son. You or me could start one tomorrow, or we could both be in the same one. It'd be fine, even though we've got slightly different politics. I'd say is look, just find a handful of people you trust, who are competent, are honest, and if they do stand for election, they'll be doing it for the right reasons. Have meetings amongst yourselves. Be careful who you let into your group. Don't have open membership. Do not have open membership because you'll get infiltrated, right? Make sure everybody
because you become a party.
Correct. Right. Don't become a party. So don't have open membership. Don't just let anybody join. And make sure anybody new who does come into your group is vouched for by one of the current members. And make sure you keep that integrity. And by the way, when you get to a certain size, no more. You start a new cell, if you will. Yeah. And I go as low as 15, but you might go slightly higher than that. And you basically sort of decide amongst yourselves, 3 or 4 of you, say there's 15 of you, 3 or 4 of you are going to stand for election in the local area. The others help out, they knock on doors, they put publicity out. Because you all know each other and you trust each other, there's that kind of responsibility. You haven't got one of the other things, that I think as well with parties, why we reject mass membership is, I was saying this about...
Again, which is what I've said to you, right, to just be careful who,
so don't go for mass membership, right? Because you can't be held. You're not responsible. You can't influence what some moron who happens to be a member of your group puts on Twitter or X or anything. But you'll get the blame for it. It'll be your fault. If they're a member of your group, guess what it will say? It will say, John Smith of the Independent Local Network put this filthy message on Twitter. Yeah. He wrote Hitler was right or whatever, right? And I'm a bit because Farage, for live, has got around this problem of mass membership by just silencing them. He takes their money and tells them to shut up. It's a great business model.
It's got very, very interesting, Daz. It might be extremely dangerous times ahead.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, I can actually see reform doing it.
Well,
personally,
yeah.
I don't think there'll be the answer. I think there'll be a disaster. But
we're on the same page about that. Yeah.
They're saying the things that people want to hear. Sadly, they're the only ones. But again, they can say what they want when they're not in power. It'd be a different kettle of fish if they actually got in power.
Yeah.
So all we can say is, maybe with a sense of fear and trepidation, is watch this space where they're concerned.
Well,
Farage is that much of an egotist. He will ultimately shoot himself in the foot before election.
Yeah, we're nearly 4 years out from it, and there's a long way to go, and a lot will happen, and they've already shown a tendency to fall out amongst themselves. So, I expect more of that in the next 3 years or so. I mean, I'll just close on one other point, which is I think something else is going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years, and I think I don't want to sound really gloomy, but I think that we're in far more economic trouble than anyone likes to admit. We haven't had a budget that's balanced for 20 years. We've been running deficits for 20 years. We've got no economic growth. We've had a stagnation in the economy for about a decade, and we've got balance of payments problem. Trade. People blame Brexit, but there's all sorts of reasons why our trade's suffering. I think there's a bit of an economic crisis coming in the next 5 to 10 years. The money's going to run out, and the problem for me is going to be you don't actually want to be in office when that happens. That's one of those things. It's about who's in possession of the ball, right? And that it could well be the case, Simon, that Labour. There are times when Labour actually quite like to lose in elections. 2010 was a good example of that. They didn't want to clean up the mess. Actually, 2029 could be a really good election to lose. Yeah, because
you could be right. Yeah. One worrying aspect already. Again, because I choose to ignore it and shut it off, but I did catch something about Rachel Reeves mooting the idea of lifting the retirement age to 74. Wow! Now there's a vote killer.
Well, no one's going to get to retire. I'm going to live till I'm 74. Things I've done to myself. Good God. Right. We'll be getting carried out of work in ambulances or something.
This is where they delude themselves. Is we've just spoke about him. Farage will be onto that. Boom! He'll take the bait, and straight away he'll say, "Why should the likes of me and you work until we're 74, and then allow migrants in and give them all these benefits?"
Well, it's an open goal, isn't it?
It is an open goal.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as simple. It's not as simple or as complicated as that. But the thing is, Simon, you can talk about raising the working age to 74, but there's going to be jobs for them to do.
Especially with this, if AI is going to be as dangerous and as potent as they reckon it is, they'll be doing it all for us.
Who fancies being a 70-year-old on the dole? Not the old age pension, the dole, signing on at 70. No. Right. All right. So
you're actively looking for work. Well, yeah, I've been out on my Zimmer for him. Yeah.
You've got a job chasing pigeons, right? Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. Right. Right. Okay. No. I think we've been going for nearly an hour and a half. There you go. So epic episode as ever, Simon. So thank you so much for being with us. We hope that Thank you, mate. And we hope that Largo's friend is okay in the hospital. So
Yeah.
fingers crossed that his mate's okay. We'll have Largo on.
Likewise, I echo that sentiment.
Yeah, and we'll have Largo on. Largo will be back on next week with us, and we'll try and get another really good guest on. So that's my problem to solve, and I'll go through that. Go through the final facts. All right. Anything else quickly from you before you go?
Right now.
No worries. All right.
Cheers,
Thank you, mate.
All right.
Take care. Night, everybody. Bye bye.